Have you ever wondered why the harder you try to control everything in your life, the more chaotic things seem to become? You plan every detail, push yourself to the limit, and yet sometimes it all falls apart. What if the real power that leads to success isn't about more control, but about more calm? In this journey, you're going to discover 11 powerful lessons drawn from the ancient philosophy of Stoicism that will teach you how to stay calm and use calmness as your greatest advantage. These aren't abstract theories or empty words, but real strategies tested for centuries by the Stoics that can transform the way you think and act. Before we dive into the lessons, let's begin with a story that perfectly illustrates the strength of a calm mind. Imagine a man named James Stockdale, a U.S. Navy pilot during the Vietnam War. One day, in the middle of combat, his plane was shot down. In seconds, his world flipped upside down. He ejected and parachuted into enemy territory, where he was immediately captured. They beat him, dragged him off to a prisoner of war camp, and threw him into a tiny cell. James Stockdale spent 7 years in captivity, not knowing if he'd survive or see freedom again. Many other prisoners in his situation lost hope and gave in to despair. But James did not. It wasn't because he was physically stronger than others. It was because he possessed something almost unbreakable: control over his own mind. Stockdale was a student of Stoic philosophy. In the darkest moments, he remembered the words of the Stoic teacher Epictetus: "It is not circumstances themselves that harm us, but our interpretation of them." James couldn't control what was happening to him, the beatings, the imprisonment, but he could control how he responded internally. He couldn't stop his captors from hurting him, but he could stop them from defeating him in spirit. They could chain his body, but not his attitude. So he made a decision. Instead of sinking into despair, he would resist from within. In secret, he became a leader to the other prisoners. He devised a covert way for them to communicate so no one felt alone. He taught them psychological tricks to keep the enemy from breaking their spirit. Whenever his captors tried to crush his will, he repeated to himself, "This does not define me. I am stronger than this." And he was right. He endured every torture and refused to give up. After 7 long years, James Stockdale was finally freed. When asked how he survived such an ordeal, his answer was simple: "I accepted reality, but I never lost faith in my ability to overcome it." Stockdale understood something many people never do. You don't control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. That was the key to his survival, and it's a key for success in life as well. So, think about it. What's stealing your calm today? A crisis at work? An argument with someone? Just a bad day where nothing goes, right? If James Stockdale could find strength and remain calm in the midst of the worst nightmare imaginable, then so can you in the chaos of everyday life. No matter how difficult a situation seems, you always have control over one thing: your own response. Now, let's explore those 11 lessons on how keeping calm can guide you to success. 1. Calm is your greatest weapon. Imagine you're a Formula One driver. Option 1. Panic. Freeze up with fear and yank the wheel impulsively. The result? You spin out into the gravel, off the track, and out of the race. Option 2. Stay calm. Feel the car sliding, but don't let panic take over. Gently ease off the accelerator, correct the steering with precision, and gradually regain control until the tires grip the track again. The best race car drivers in the world aren't just the fastest ones. They're the ones who keep a cool head when everything is spinning out of control. They don't fight the skid blindly. They understand what's happening and use it to their advantage. Life works the same way. Success isn't about avoiding every problem or never hitting rough curves. It's about learning to respond with clarity when those problems come. If you look at truly successful people, you'll notice something they all have in common. It's not that they never face crises or that everything is perfect for them. It's that when the world turns upside down, they stay on track. They don't lose control. They don't let fear dictate their decisions. Author Ryan Holiday calls this calmness under pressure a strategic advantage. He says real strength isn't in sheer speed or aggression, but in the ability to stay composed when everything seems to be falling apart around you. This isn't just motivational talk. Science backs it up. A calm mind truly does make better decisions. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, understood this centuries ago. He wrote, "If you are disturbed by something external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it." In other words, it's not the sharp turn itself. It's how you perceive and react to the sharp turn. Modern neuroscience agrees. When we react in panic or anger, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, takes over. We go into fight or flight mode and our reasoning shuts down. But when we manage to stay calm, we engage the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that thinks logically and makes smart decisions. A study at the Institute of Cognitive Neuroscience in London found that people trained to stay calm under pressure not only felt less stress, but also achieved better long-term results. They weren't making choices based on knee-jerk emotions. They were acting based on strategy and reason. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but how do I actually stay calm when real life throws a wrench in the works? It's easy to talk about calm while reading an article or watching a video, but it's much harder when you're in the thick of it, when the curve comes out of nowhere and you feel yourself losing control. That's why you need to train your calmness, just like you'd train a muscle. Here are 2 strategies to start with. The observer technique. The next time you're in a stressful situation, imagine for a moment that you're not you living it. Instead, you're a spectator watching the scene in a movie. Create a little mental distance. Then ask, if I were advising the main character here, what would I tell them to do? This simple exercise can help you step back from your immediate emotions and think more clearly and objectively. It's like gaining a bird's eye view of the problem, which often reveals a solution you couldn't see before. Daily calm drills. Don't wait for a crisis to test your calm. Practice it in the small moments every day. For example, imagine you just got home with groceries and accidentally drop a carton of eggs on the floor. Eggs everywhere, what a mess. Your first instinct might be to curse, yell, or feel like, why do things like this always happen to me? But stop right there. This is your training ground. If something this small can steal your calm, what's going to happen when a real problem comes along? Use minor annoyances as opportunities to practice patience and composure. Clean up the eggs calmly, maybe even with a smile, and move on. By training your reaction on little things, you'll be ready to stay steady when bigger challenges appear. Remember, calm isn't a switch you flip the moment a big problem arises. Calm is a habit you cultivate day by day. It's like a muscle. If you exercise it regularly, it will be strong when you need it. If you never exercise it, it won't be there for you in the crucial moment. So ask yourself, do you want to keep reacting like that rookie driver who loses their head at the first unexpected turn? Or do you want to be like the champion who keeps their cool and navigates through the chaos? If staying calm makes you stronger and more effective, why give that up? Why let the world push you off track? From now on, when faced with a sudden curve in life, remember that your calm is your greatest weapon. Grab the wheel of your mind firmly and steer yourself back on course. 2. Can you really control everything? Have you ever had one of those days where nothing goes as planned? You wake up thinking, today is going to be great. You've scheduled everything out. You'll finish an important project, hit the gym, cook a nice dinner, a perfect, productive day. But then life starts to derail your plan. Your boss throws a new urgent task at you that wasn't on your agenda. A close friend cancels plans that you were looking forward to. You call someone for support, But instead of comfort, they drop a comment that completely ruins your mood, one thing after another, and suddenly your perfect day is in pieces. Frustration creeps in. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. And here's where the real problem reveals itself. It's not just that things went wrong, it's that you expected everything, and everyone, to follow your script. We humans have a habit of trying to not only control our own lives, but also the people and events around us. We want others to behave the way we imagine they should. We want our plans to unfold exactly as we envisioned. We want every day to go perfectly. Think about it. How many times have you tried to change someone else or forced an outcome and ended up upset? Maybe you gave thoughtful advice to a friend only to watch them make the same mistake again and again. Or you tried to convince your partner to see something your way, but they just wouldn't. Or you wished your parents would stop worrying about you so much and understand your perspective, but they didn't. Each time, you likely felt angry or disappointed when things didn't change as you wanted. The problem isn't necessarily the situation itself. The problem is being attached to the idea that you can control it. The reality is, you cannot control everything, and you can't control other people. And trying to is a recipe for constant stress. As investor and philosopher Naval Ravikant wisely said, suffering comes from the desire to control the uncontrollable. In other words, the more you try to force outcomes that you can't actually force, the more you will suffer when they resist. Think of all the energy we waste trying to manage things that are simply out of our hands. We can influence people and situations to a degree, but we can't script them like a movie. When we fail to recognize that, we set ourselves up for frustration, anxiety, and disappointment. This insight isn't new. Over 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it this way: some things are up to us, and some are not. Only those who focus on what is within their control can be free. By contrast, if you cling to trying to control what's not up to you, you'll inevitably suffer. It's as true today as it was then. And science agrees. A research study at Stanford University examined how people handle uncertainty and lack of control. They split participants into two groups, given two different tasks. The first group got a task where they had full control over the outcome. The second group's task had results that depended on outside factors they couldn't influence. Then the researchers measured everyone's stress levels. The results were telling. People who learned to accept uncertainty, who knew some things were out of their hands, showed lower anxiety, greater adaptability, and more stable emotions. Meanwhile, those who tried to cling to control in an uncontrollable situation felt constantly frustrated and exhausted. In short, the more they fought the wind, the more winded and upset they became. Now, take a moment to reflect. Which side are you on? When life throws curve balls, do you accept what you cannot change and focus on what you can? Or do you fight against the situation, wishing it would conform to your wishes? If you often find yourself on the losing side of that battle, it's time to shift your approach. To live with less turmoil and keep moving toward success, try these two challenges. Challenge 1, the so what challenge. The next time something doesn't go according to plan, pause and ask yourself, so what will this matter in 5 years? Often, we get extremely upset over things that, in the grand scheme, are pretty minor. You might not even remember this problem a month or a year from now. By asking, so what? You remind yourself to zoom out. If the answer is, no, this won't matter in 5 years or even 5 weeks, then maybe it's not worth losing your calm over it today. It's a simple question, but it can snap you out of spiraling anxiety and put things in perspective. Challenge 2, controlled chaos. I know the name sounds a bit scary. This one might be hard to do, but it can genuinely change your life. One day a week, let go of your tight grip on the schedule. Deliberately allow a bit of randomness into your day. Don't plan every hour. Just go with the flow. See where the day takes you without rigid expectations. Perhaps on a Sunday you decide to have no fixed plans. You wake up and do whatever you feel like, whenever you feel like. Even if it's not productive, this exercise teaches your mind that it's okay if not everything is mapped out. You'll likely be surprised by two things. 1. The world won't end if you're not controlling every detail. And 2. You might actually enjoy the spontaneity and discover new things about yourself. By letting go of control occasionally, you practice adaptability, a key skill for staying calm in an unpredictable world. Think of life not as a straight highway where you control the steering the whole way, but as sailing on the open sea. You cannot control the wind, the waves, or the weather. There will be storms you didn't predict and currents that push you off course. But you can control how you adjust your sails. You can't stop the storm, but you can navigate through it. So rather than trying to demand the wind always blow your way, learn to work with the wind that's given. Trim your sails, adjust your course, and keep going. Let go of what isn't up to you, and pour your energy into what is within your power, your decisions, your attitude, your effort, your reactions. In the end, real success doesn't come from controlling everything that's impossible. It comes from learning how to adapt when things don't go your way and making the best out of whatever situation you're in. It comes from focusing on the only thing you truly control: your own actions and responses. When you master that, unexpected disruptions won't knock you off balance so easily. You'll move forward regardless of which way the wind blows, confident that you can handle whatever comes next. 3. Be grateful before you complain. Think of your mind as a garden. What you plant is what grows. If every day you water your mind with stress, complaints, and negativity, what do you think will sprout up? You'll get a barren garden full of thorns and weeds. Not exactly a pleasant, nourishing place, right? This isn't just a poetic metaphor, there's real truth to it. Modern science has shown that our brains actually change based on what we consistently think about. In other words, if you constantly focus on problems and complaints, your brain becomes really good at being negative. But if you focus on gratitude and positives, your brain can become better at being positive and resilient. A group of scientists at the University of California, Berkeley, decided to test just how powerful gratitude can be. They conducted an experiment with a bunch of volunteers. Here's what they did. They split people into two groups. Group 1 was asked to write down 3 things they were grateful for every night, no matter how small. Just 3 good things that happened or that they appreciated that day. Group 2 didn't have any special instructions. They could write about anything they wanted each day, but with no specific focus on gratitude. Weeks passed, and the researchers checked in to see the results. What they found was astonishing. The people in Group 1, the daily gratitude group, showed significant changes in their brains. Scans and tests showed increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for calm decision-making, emotional balance, and reasoning. In simple terms, these people were becoming mentally stronger and calmer. By regularly focusing on things they were thankful for, their brains were being trained to see the good and handle stress better. It's as if their brains got a special workout that made them more resilient. The people in Group 2, no focused gratitude, showed virtually no change. Nothing improved for them. As one researcher put it, their brains remained the same. Their garden was still dry. They hadn't given their mind any water of gratitude, so nothing new grew. Amazing, isn't it? Such a simple habit, writing down a few thankful thoughts, led to a measurable difference in the brain. Gratitude, which might seem like a soft, feel-good concept, actually has a powerful effect on our mental state and our ability to stay calm under pressure. I'll admit, I didn't always believe in this whole gratitude thing. Trust me, I understand the skepticism. I used to roll my eyes at advice like count your blessings or start a gratitude journal, It sounded cliché and pointless when you're facing real problems. I thought, how is writing down that I'm thankful for my coffee going to help me deal with my actual issues? But one day, feeling kind of desperate for a change, I decided to give it a shot. I remember starting very small. Each morning, I would scribble down just 3 things I was grateful for. Sometimes it was big things. I'm grateful I have supportive parents. And sometimes it was tiny. I'm grateful for how warm the sun feels today. I did this every day for a while, and something shifted. It wasn't like all my problems magically disappeared, but I noticed I felt different. Lighter, less stressed, more peaceful. Over time, I realized something profound that, as it happens, the Stoic philosopher Seneca had said centuries ago, it is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratitude that makes us happy. Think about that for a second. Most of us chase things we think will make us happy, and yes, when we get them, we feel grateful. But Seneca, and now modern science, suggests it works the other way around. If you cultivate gratitude first, happiness follows. Let's put this into a real-life scenario. It's Monday morning. You open your eyes and the very first thought that pops into your head is something like, I don't want to get up. I really need a vacation. Life would be so much better if I didn't have to go to this job. If only I had more money or a nicer house or a different life. As you go through your morning, you're mentally ticking off all the things that are wrong or missing. It's almost automatic, a kind of mental soundtrack of complaints. Now, ask yourself honestly, has thinking this way ever made a day better? When have we ever complained our way to happiness? Probably never. In fact, often even when we do get some of those things we thought we wanted, a raise, a new car, etc., we quickly find new things to complain about. There's always something else that's not perfect. The finish line for enough keeps moving further away. The truth is, no matter how much you achieve or acquire, there will always be something else to want. If you make your peace of mind conditional on everything being exactly as you want, you'll never be at peace. You'll just move from one desire to the next, and in that process, the one thing you lose is your calm, your ability to feel content and centered in the here and now. So, what's the alternative? It's simple. Gratitude. If a small habit like appreciating the good things in your life can literally rewire your brain to be more calm and resilient, why not give it a try? Here are a few practical ways to start practicing gratitude and replanting your mental garden with something positive. Morning thank you. When you wake up, before you do anything else, take a moment to sit up, take a deep breath, and say, thank you. Say it out loud if you can, or in your mind if others are sleeping. But don't just say the words, feel them. You might be thanking the universe, God, life, or just expressing thanks in general. The important part is the feeling. It might feel a little silly the first time, but this simple act sets a tone for your day. By starting with gratitude, you prime your mind to look for positives rather than immediately diving into stress. Instead of, I have so much to do today, it becomes, I'm grateful to have another day and a chance to do something with it. That shift in mindset at the very start of the day can color everything that follows. Idea. Gratitude journal at night. Before you go to bed, jot down 3 good things that happened today. They don't have to be big. In fact, noticing small pleasures is great training for your brain. Maybe you had a really good cup of coffee in the afternoon, or you shared a laugh with a colleague, or your child gave you a hug, or you caught a beautiful sunset on the way home. Write them down. And try to choose new things each day. Challenge yourself to find fresh positives so you're always scanning your day for what was good. This does 2 things. 1. It ends your day on a positive note, which can improve sleep and mood. 2. Over time, it teaches your mind a habit. Throughout the day, you'll unconsciously start noticing, oh, that's something I can write in my journal tonight. Meaning you'll focus more on good moments than bad ones. Flip the focus to what you have. Whenever you catch yourself thinking, if only I had X, things would be better. Pause and make yourself list something you currently have that you're grateful for. For example, if you think, I wish I had a bigger house, counter that with, I'm grateful I have a safe place to live. Or, I love the way the sunlight comes into my current living room. If you're thinking, I wish I had someone in my life, you might counter with, I'm grateful for my friends. Or, I'm thankful I have time to work on myself right now. This isn't to deny aspirations or say you shouldn't aim higher. It's about not letting what you lack blind you to what you have. Life isn't an endless checklist of things to obtain. If you can't appreciate what's here now, having more won't suddenly make you content. Peace and clarity come from loving the life you have while you work toward the life you want. Keep this truth in mind. Complaining changes nothing. Gratitude changes everything. When you complain, you're effectively rehearsing the negative, cementing it deeper in your mind. When you express gratitude, you're rehearsing the positive, making sure those good things take root and grow. Over time, you'll find that a grateful mind is a calmer mind. It doesn't mean you ignore problems or wear rose-colored glasses. It means that even when you face challenges, you can also see the good around you, which gives you the strength and balance to deal with the bad. A mind that finds things to be thankful for is like a garden that finds ways to bloom, even in harsh conditions. So tomorrow morning, try saying thank you and see how it feels. And tonight, write down a few things you appreciated today. Do it again the next day. These are small steps, but they are like drops of water on parched soil. Keep it up and watch how your inner garden begins to flourish with a calm and positive outlook. 4. Think well and attract the best. A few months ago, a good friend of mine received some terrifying news. He was diagnosed with a serious health issue, the kind of news that makes your heart skip a beat and turns your world upside down. Suddenly, his future became uncertain. His days filled up with hospital visits, medical tests, and a cloud of fear hanging over everything. But perhaps the worst part was what happened inside his own head. Every morning, almost as soon as he opened his eyes, his thoughts would start racing down a dark path. What if things get worse? What if I never get better? Why is this happening to me? These thoughts played on repeat, day after day. With that kind of mental soundtrack, you can imagine how he felt every day was heavy and hard to get through, like being stuck in a long tunnel with no light at the end. Then one day, as he sat in yet another waiting room at the hospital, he heard a speaker playing a talk by the motivational coach Tony Robbins. Not much usually cuts through my friend's anxiety in those moments, but something Tony said made him sit up and listen. It was simple. The quality of your thoughts defines the quality of your life. That line echoed in my friend's mind. It sounded familiar. Later, when he got home, he did a bit of searching and realized why it rang a bell. About 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote something very similar in his journal. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Imagine that across 2 millennia, from our Roman emperor to a modern self-help guru, the message is the same. At that moment, it hit my friend. He couldn't control his illness or all the external chaos it brought. But he could control one incredibly important thing: how he faced it. He realized that by letting his mind flood with negative, fearful thoughts every day, he was effectively living the worst-case scenario over and over. Even if it hadn't happened yet, he was suffering more in his mind than he was in reality. And maybe, just maybe, if he changed his thoughts, he could change his experience of this struggle. So he decided to try a small experiment with himself. Each morning, Before he even got out of bed, he forced himself to think of one positive thing for the day, something to look forward to, or a reason to be hopeful, no matter how humble or small. It was hard at first. When you're scared or in pain, optimism doesn't come naturally, but he stuck with it. His thoughts started looking like this: today I will find something that makes me laugh, even if it's a silly YouTube video or a joke with a friend. Today I will enjoy every moment I get to spend with my family, appreciating them fully. Today I'll be grateful that I'm here and able to fight through this, and I'll recognize the things that are still good in my life. Guess what? His situation didn't suddenly turn sunshine and rainbows. The illness was still there. The challenges were real. But the way he dealt with it completely changed. He started facing his treatments and daily difficulties with a bit more strength and a lot less dread. By thinking of what could go right each day instead of what could go wrong, he felt more in control and hopeful. His spirits lifted, which actually gave him more energy to handle the hard stuff. This taught him and me, watching him, a valuable lesson. Your mindset is a powerful tool. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the world during his time, knew that even an emperor's greatest challenge was mastering his own thoughts. He didn't waste mental energy on whining about problems. He focused on solutions. He didn't keep asking, "Why me?" when difficulties arose. He asked, "How can I get through this?" That perspective was key to his strength amidst chaos, and it can be key to yours and mine as well. So let me ask you, what kind of thoughts are you feeding your mind every day? Are you like my friend initially did, programming your mind to expect the worst, to see only obstacles? Or are you training it to notice opportunities and solutions? In other words, are you filling your head with worries that hold you back, or with ideas that propel you forward? Here are some ways you can start thinking well, so you can attract the best outcomes into your life. Reframe negative thoughts. We all have negative thoughts. Sometimes it's human. The trick is to catch them and flip them around. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, "This situation is a disaster, I can't handle it," pause right there. Take a deep breath and deliberately rephrase that thought. "This situation is challenging, but I can learn something from it, and I will handle it." Or if you think, "I messed up, I'm a failure," reframe it to, "I made a mistake, but I'm going to learn from it and improve." This isn't about lying to yourself or pretending things are fine when they're not. It's about choosing a perspective that helps you move forward rather than one that paralyzes you. Over time, this practice trains your brain to automatically look for the brighter side or the next step instead of getting stuck in the dark. Avoid the negativity trap of others. Negativity can be contagious. If you're constantly around people who only complain, who only see the downside in every situation, or who discourage your dreams, it's going to drag you down. You might not be able to completely remove all negative people from your life, and some you don't want to if they're close family or friends, but you can set boundaries and seek out more positive influences. Spend more time with people who uplift you, those who talk about ideas and solutions, not just problems and gossip. Engage with content, books, videos, podcasts that gives you hope and motivation, not fear and doubt. You'll find that your own thinking becomes more optimistic and resilient when you surround yourself with positivity. Visualize positive outcomes. This might sound a bit woo-woo to some, but there's a reason athletes and high achievers do it. It works. Start your day by mentally picturing things going well. For instance, if you have a presentation or an exam or an important meeting, take a few minutes to imagine yourself handling it with confidence and calm. See yourself succeeding at it, delivering the presentation and wowing the audience, or answering the exam questions correctly and feeling good, or getting through the meeting with great results. When you do this, you're essentially rehearsing success in your mind. Then, when the real moment comes, it feels a little more familiar and a little less scary, because in a way you've been there, done that in your head. Visualization helps align your mind with positive action instead of sabotaging yourself with doubt. In the end, everything boils down to a simple but profound truth. Your mind is the filter through which you experience reality. If you train it to think clearly, bravely, and positively, you'll start to notice more opportunities around you. You'll make better decisions because you're not clouded by fear or negativity. You'll even attract better people and circumstances because you'll be more open to them and ready to capitalize on them. So, starting today, make a conscious effort to think well. When a negative thought pops up, don't let it squat in your head rent-free. Challenge it or change it. When you catch yourself in a spiral of worry, break the pattern by focusing on one good thought or solution. It's like adjusting the lens on a camera. When you fine-tune the focus of your mind, the picture of your life can become much brighter and sharper. And with that clearer, more positive picture, you'll naturally start moving toward the best that life has to offer. Now, take a moment and consider, what positive thing do you want to attract into your life? Is it success in your career, a loving relationship, better health, or just a sense of peace? Write it down or say it out loud with conviction. Everything starts with a thought, so let's plant the best ones and watch how they shape our reality. 5. Your attention defines your reality. Tell me, when you walk down a busy street, what catches your attention? Do you immediately notice the noise, the honking cars, the people rushing by with frowns on their faces, the litter on the sidewalk? Or do you pick up on different things? Maybe the warm sunlight hitting the buildings, the street musician playing a cheerful tune, the smell of fresh coffee from a cafe, or the brief, kind smile from a stranger you pass. The world itself is the same for everyone on that street, but each person's experience can be completely different, all because of what they choose to focus on. There's a popular illustration of this concept. Imagine two people riding on opposite sides of a bus traveling through scenic mountains. One person looks out their window and sees nothing but the dark, rocky cliffside just inches away. It's frightening and depressing to them. The other person looks out their window and is treated to stunning vistas of mountains and a beautiful sunrise. It fills them with awe and joy. Same bus, same journey, but two entirely different realities. The only difference was where each one directed their attention. Life is a lot like that. If you always focus on what's going wrong, on what annoys or frustrates you, then your reality will feel negative because that's what you're tuning into. On the other hand, if you make an effort to notice the good, the helpful, the beautiful, no matter how small, then your reality starts to feel quite different, more positive, more manageable, maybe even a bit magical. Actor Will Smith once said that if you want success and happiness, you need to ignore distractions and focus on what truly matters. He attributed much of his success to this ability to zero in on his goals and the positive things in his life, rather than getting caught up in drama or negativity around him. It's not about luck or pretending bad things don't exist. It's about choosing carefully where to put your energy. Think of your attention like a flashlight in the dark. Wherever you point it, that's what you'll see. The rest either becomes dim or invisible to you. So, if you point your flashlight at problems, and only problems, guess what you illuminate? Problems everywhere. But if you shine that light on solutions, or on things you're grateful for, or on opportunities, suddenly those things come into view. Another way to imagine it is like using a filter on a camera or on Instagram. Put on a gray, gloomy filter and every photo looks dreary. Put on a bright, warm filter and everything looks sunnier. Your mindset is that filter. If you filter the world through everything is awful, then even good things might look dull to you. If you filter it through there's hope and good out there, you'll spot bright moments, even in a tough day. Now, I'm not saying serious problems can be fixed just by shifting attention, or that you should ignore genuine issues. But often we amplify our suffering by giving so much attention to the bad that we become blind to any good. Our reality becomes more miserable than it needs to be. Try a little experiment right now. Think back over the past week. Can you identify one instance where you got really upset or anxious? Maybe it was a critical comment from someone, a piece of news that agitated you, a mistake you made, or something you saw online. For a while, your mind latched onto it and you couldn't stop dwelling on it, right? How did that affect your mood? Probably dragged it down. Now ask, during that same time, was there something positive or neutral you could have focused on instead? Perhaps even on that bad day, there was a nice moment a friend called, or you had a good meal, or you finished a task successfully. If your mind had been more tuned to those things instead of the negative event, do you think you would have felt different? Most likely, yes. If we want to regain our calm and direct our lives towards success, we have to train our attention just like we train a muscle. It's about being deliberate with your focus. Here are some steps to help you do that. Put your mind on a diet, just like you watch what food you put into your body. Watch what information and stimuli you're feeding your mind. In today's world, we're drowning in information, and a lot of it is negative. Constant news about crises, social media highlighting drama or comparing our lives with others, endless notifications. It's a lot. Try to reduce the negative junk food input. This might mean cutting down how often you check the news, maybe glance once a day instead of every hour. Unfollowing social media accounts that always make you angry or inadequate, and actively seeking out some positive or educational content instead. Curate what you read and watch. Ask yourself, is this lifting me up or tearing me down? Is this within my control or just making me upset for no reason? If it's the latter, consider letting it go. Remember, your mind is like a garden. What you water grows. Water the weeds of negativity less, and water the flowers of positivity more. Hit the reset button on your focus. No matter how disciplined you try to be, negative thoughts will slip in. That's okay. The key is to catch yourself when you're stuck on a negative train of thought and consciously change tracks. One trick: change your physical environment for a bit. If you're stewing at your desk, get up and take a short walk. Look at the sky, do some stretches, drink some water. It might sound trivial, but physical movement and a change of scenery can break the loop in your head. Another trick is to change the questions you're asking yourself. When something bad happens, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" which often leads to self-pity or anger, try asking, "What can I learn from this?" Or, "How can I make the best of this?" This shifts your focus from the problem itself to a more solution-oriented or growth-oriented perspective. For example, if you didn't get a job you interviewed for, instead of, "Why did they reject me? This is awful," you could think, "Okay, what can I improve for next time? Maybe I can enhance my skills or practice interviewing more, or perhaps this means a better opportunity is around the corner." It's about redirecting your attention to something constructive. Choose your company wisely. We touched on this earlier, but it's worth repeating. The people around you influence where your attention goes. If you hang out with people who gossip, you'll end up focusing on gossip. If your friends constantly complain, you'll end up seeing the world through complaint-tinted glasses. But if you have people in your life who talk about ideas, goals, and things they're excited about, those topics will start occupying more space in your mind too. This doesn't mean ditch your old friends entirely, but it might mean adding some new voices to your life. Maybe join a group or club, even an online community, that centers around something positive or growth-oriented. Or simply have an honest conversation with close ones about wanting to focus on more positive things, and see if they'll join you in that effort. Environments matter if you want your attention to go to better places. Put yourself in environments that encourage that. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Where your attention goes, there is your mind and your life." In a sense, you become what you pay attention to. If you constantly focus on what's ugly, you'll feel like the world is ugly. If you focus on what's beautiful, you'll find beauty everywhere. Neither view is 100% of the truth, but one of them will certainly make you happier and more effective in life. By training your attention, you're not just finding more calm, you're also empowering yourself. A focused mind is a formidable tool on the road to success. It means you're not easily swayed by every little distraction or panic that comes along. You know what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You start to notice opportunities where others see none, simply because you're looking for them. You make progress on your goals because you're not derailed by every bit of irrelevant noise. So starting today, practice a little mindfulness about your focus. Maybe set a reminder on your phone a couple of times a day that just says, "Where's your attention?" When it goes off, quickly check in with yourself. What am I focusing on right now? Is it something positive, useful, within my control? Or am I dwelling on something negative or pointless? If it's the latter, gently guide your mind somewhere better. Over time, this will become second nature. Remember, your attention is one of your most precious resources. Spend it wisely, and it will reward you with a richer, calmer, and more successful life experience. 6. If you don't rest, your mind shuts down. Let's bust a dangerous myth right now. Rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. In our go-go-go culture, we often wear exhaustion as a badge of honor. "I'll sleep when I'm dead," people joke as they chug another coffee and force themselves to grind through work or study or chores. We admire the hustle, the late nights, the early mornings, and sure, hard work is important, but here's the catch. If you never give yourself a break, you're not working efficiently or intelligently. In fact, you're sabotaging yourself. Think about the last time you were truly exhausted but kept pushing. You might have been staring at your computer, trying to finish an assignment or meet a deadline. Your brain felt like mush. You read the same paragraph 3 times and still didn't absorb it. Maybe you kept making mistakes that you normally wouldn't. You reached for caffeine or sugary snacks to keep you going, a temporary boost, at best. And as the night wore on, you became frustrated and maybe even a bit miserable. Finally, you collapsed into bed, far later than you should have. The next day, how did you feel? Probably even worse, groggy, irritable, and foggy-minded. Any gains from the extra hours of work were likely erased by how ineffective and error-prone you were. It's like trying to drive a car on an empty tank of gas, or a phone on 1% battery. You might coast for a short distance, but soon you're going to sputter to a stop. Even machines need a break. If you have a smartphone and you use it non-stop all day long, you know you have to plug it in to recharge, or it will die. No amount of wishing or pressing the power button will bring a dead phone back. You must charge it. Your brain is similar. It needs periods of recharge. Yet for some reason, we often treat our brains as if they should run 24/7 without proper rest. The ancient Stoics understood the importance of rest and recovery well. Seneca, a famous Stoic philosopher, wrote about how even a sword cannot stay sharp if it's never given a chance to rest in its sheath. If you constantly use it, never pausing to sharpen or care for it, it will dull and eventually become useless. What's the point of having the best sword or the best mind if you wear it down to nothing? So, let's drop the guilt or the false notion that resting is wasting time. It's quite the opposite. Rest is a strategy to be more effective. Modern neuroscience has our back on this. Studies show that during sleep and rest, our brains do a lot of critical work. They process memories, consolidate what we learned during the day, and clean out toxins. Ever notice how after a good night's sleep, a problem that seemed unsolvable the day before suddenly becomes clear? That's no accident. Your brain was working on it for you while you slept, sorting things out subconsciously. To put it another way, think of your brain like a whiteboard that you write all over during the day: tasks, information, experiences. If you never wipe it down, it just gets more and more cluttered until it's hard to read anything. Sleep is like wiping the whiteboard clean. It gives you a fresh surface to keep learning and making decisions without the confusion of yesterday's marks all over it. Now, I get it, life is busy. You might be thinking, sure, rest sounds nice, but I have deadlines, kids to take care of, bills to pay. I can't just take a break whenever I want. That's true, we can't always drop everything for a nap, but we can carve out smarter ways to get the rest we need and make the most of the rest we get. Here are a few practical strategies to ensure you're getting the kind of rest that keeps your mind sharp and calm. Protect your sleep. Reduce nighttime screen time. You've probably heard this one before, and that's because it's important. The blue light emitted by phones, tablets, and computer screens tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime, which can interfere with your sleep quality. If you're scrolling through social media or reading stressful news right before bed, you're basically telling your brain, stay alert. It's not time to sleep yet. Then you turn off the light and expect to instantly fall asleep. Likely, you end up tossing and turning. Try setting a digital curfew for yourself, maybe 30 minutes or even an hour before bed. Put the devices away. Use that time to do something calming. Read a physical book, listen to gentle music, take a warm shower, or chat with your family or partner. Think of it as landing the plane of your day gently, instead of crash landing into bed with your mind still flying at full speed. Establish a simple bedtime routine. This doesn't have to be some elaborate 10-step skincare, aromatherapy, hour-long routine, unless you want it to be. It can be as straightforward as dim the lights, put on pajamas, maybe jot down a couple of thoughts in a journal or a to-do list for tomorrow to get them off your mind. And then do some deep breathing or light stretching. The idea is to send a signal to your brain that says, we're transitioning into rest mode now. Over time, the consistency of a routine, even a short one, can train your body to start winding down more easily at night, just as morning routines can set the tone for your day, which we'll talk about soon. Night routines can set the tone for a restful night. Listen to your body's signals. Have you ever been working or studying and found yourself reading the same sentence over and over? Not because it's complicated, but because your brain just isn't absorbing it. Or maybe you're doing some task and you start making silly mistakes, or you feel your temper getting short for no good reason. These are signs. Just like physical fatigue, say your legs ache after lots of walking, there is mental fatigue. The problem is, we often ignore mental fatigue because we think, just one more hour, I need to push through. But taking a short break can actually save you time in the long run, because you'll come back more efficient. If you feel your focus slipping or frustration rising, give yourself permission to pause. Even a 10 to 15 minute break can work wonders. Step outside for some fresh air, close your eyes and do some breathing exercises, or have a healthy snack. Also, pay attention to bigger signs like chronic insomnia, constant irritability, or frequent illness. Sometimes your body forces a shutdown, like getting sick. If you refuse to give it rest, better to take breaks on your own terms than be forced to by burnout or illness. Think like an athlete. Top athletes don't train hard 7 days a week, 365 days a year, without rest. They have rest days. They alternate intensity. They take off seasons. They know that improvement actually happens during recovery periods, when the body rebuilds stronger. You are the athlete of your own life. As one author put it, your playing field might be the office, the classroom, or the home, but the principle is the same. Recovery is part of growth. If you schedule your work or study hours, also schedule in some downtime. It could be a hobby, a leisurely walk, or simply time to do nothing in particular. This isn't lazy, it's strategic. When you return to work after true rest, you'll often solve in minutes what was taking you hours before. Quality of rest matters too. Ever taken a day off but spent it worrying about work and ended up feeling just as tired? Rest isn't just the physical act of not working, it's also mental. Try to be present in your rest. If you're relaxing with your family, really be there with them, not checking emails under the dinner table. If you're taking a walk, notice your surroundings, feel the breeze, rather than replaying a work argument in your head. It's understandable that our minds drift to worries, but gently remind yourself, there is time to think about that later. This is my time to recharge. Sometimes even a few hours of deeply unplugged rest can rejuvenate you more than a full day of half relaxing, half stressing. Remember, your brain and your body are on the same team. When one is overworked, the other suffers. Chronic lack of rest can lead to health issues, which then further hinder your success and happiness. On the flip side, giving yourself adequate rest is like strengthening the foundation of a house. Everything you build, your goals, relationships, career, stands more solidly on a well-rested mind and body. So the next time you're at that decision point, should I grind for another hour, or should I get some rest? Consider that rest might not be the indulgent choice, but the smart one. Recharging is part of the work. It's what allows you to come back sharper, more creative, and more resilient. Think of rest as a power move for success. While others burn out by sprinting non-stop, you'll be the one who had the wisdom to pace yourself and go the distance. After all, life is more of a marathon than a sprint. And in a marathon, knowing when to conserve energy is just as important as knowing when to give it your all. 7. Your mornings shape your destiny. Let's play out a little scenario in our imaginations. Picture two famous Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, and Seneca, the philosopher, magically transported to the present day. How might each of them handle the modern morning routine? Marcus Aurelius, modern version. The alarm goes off, and Marcus groggily opens his eyes. Without thinking, his hand shoots out to grab his smartphone from the bedside table. Immediately, he's hit with a barrage of information. He sees a string of work emails, some marked urgent, that came in overnight. A couple of them are basically mini crises that he'll have to deal with as soon as he gets in. Then, out of habit, he taps on a news app. The headlines are full of political drama and dire events. He feels a twinge of anxiety or anger at something he reads. Next, he checks social media. He sees that someone left a snarky comment on his recent post, which irritates him. And a friend posted photos from a vacation, which oddly also irritates him. Why does everyone seem to have more fun than me? For good measure, he glances at his calendar app and sees back-to-back meetings. He already feels the stress building. Marcus hasn't even gotten out of bed, and his heart rate is up. He mutters about how exhausting the day is going to be. He rushes through getting dressed, maybe skips breakfast or grabs a quick coffee. He's physically present as the day begins, but mentally, he's all over the place, dragged in multiple directions by everything he just saw on his phone. By the time Marcus sits down at his desk, or gets to his first obligation of the day, he's already drained. And any little setback or annoyance in the morning traffic jam, spilled coffee, a harsh word from someone, just confirms his mood. Today is awful, and it's only 9 a.m. Sound familiar? Many of us start the day exactly like this, reactive, hurried, and already stressed. Now let's see Seneca, modern version. The alarm goes off for Seneca too. He wakes up maybe around the same time as Marcus, but here's what he does differently. Before reaching for any device, Seneca takes a deep breath. He spends just a minute lying there, collecting his thoughts. Perhaps he asks himself, what is my intention for today? What kind of day do I want this to be? This is something he did in his writings, reflecting in the morning on the day ahead. He gets up slowly and stretches a bit, feeling the morning's calm. He drinks a glass of water. He maybe sits down with a journal and scribbles a few lines. Nothing elaborate, maybe just some thoughts or a short list of what he's grateful for, or his main focus for the day. Seneca avoids grabbing his phone for the first chunk of his morning. The emails, the news, the world's noise can wait for just a little while. Instead, he might meditate or read a few pages of something inspiring. Or he simply enjoys a quiet breakfast, savoring the food. If he's feeling extra motivated, maybe he takes a short walk outside to get some fresh air and clear his mind. When Seneca finally starts engaging with the world, checking his phone or diving into work, he does it on his own terms. With a clear head, he's proactively set a positive tone for the day, rather than being yanked into dozens of directions before he even brushed his teeth. Two people, same morning time frame, completely different starts. It's pretty obvious which of these approaches leads to a calmer mind and a more successful day. Marcus started off reactive, and that pretty much guarantees a reactive day. Seneca started off intentional, which paves the way for more thoughtful responses and better control throughout the day. Now, in real life, none of us are going to have a perfect morning every day. Things happen. Kids jump on you at 6 a.m. An urgent call wakes you up. You sleep through an alarm, etc. But the point is to strive for a morning routine that empowers you instead of immediately overwhelms you. There's actually scientific backing for this. Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, a physician and well-being expert, has spoken and written about how a morning routine can drastically impact stress levels for the rest of the day. When you start the day feeling in control, you carry that feeling into subsequent tasks. When you start it feeling behind and bombarded, you end up playing catch-up mentally and physically all day. So, let's consider some practical steps to craft a calmer morning that sets you up for success. Delay your phone use just a bit. This is huge. Try, as best as you can, not to dive into your phone for at least the first 15 to 30 minutes after waking. I know it can be tempting if your phone is your alarm clock. It's right there, after all, but perhaps charge it across the room, or use an actual alarm clock, or muster the willpower to turn off the alarm and not open any apps for a while. The world can wait for a few minutes while you get centered. You do not need to know about that email or that news article right at dawn. Give your brain a chance to wake up slowly rather than jolting it with a flood of information. Do one mindful thing right after waking. This could be anything that grounds you: deep breathing, stretching, or simply making your bed. Yes, making your bed can be a mindful ritual. It's a small win first thing in the morning, a tiny act of order and control in your environment. It can be drinking a cup of water and feeling it rehydrate you, or stepping outside to feel the morning air. The key is, do it deliberately and pay attention to it. This anchors you in the present moment. Set an intention or positive thought. Mornings are a great time to prime your mind. Maybe think of one thing you're looking forward to that day, or one thing you're grateful for, or a simple affirmation like, "Today I will stay calm and focused," or "I will handle whatever comes with grace." If you journal, you can write this down. If not, simply take a moment to think it or say it to yourself. It's like steering your mind in a positive direction before the day's winds start blowing. Eat a decent breakfast if you can. It doesn't have to be big or time-consuming, but fueling your body helps fuel your mind. Even a banana and some yogurt or a piece of toast with peanut butter can be enough. If you have more time, go for eggs or oatmeal or whatever you like. The point is, you're taking care of yourself, not just running on empty. Plus, sitting down to eat, even briefly, can be a calming ritual. If you're a coffee or tea person, enjoy that too, but perhaps after a glass of water to rehydrate. A quick morning exercise or movement. This depends on your schedule. If you have 10 minutes, you'd be surprised what a short walk or a bit of stretching yoga can do. It wakes up your body and can shake off any grogginess. Some people love a full workout in the morning, which is great, but if that's not you, a little movement is still beneficial. Protect your mood from negative input. As much as possible, avoid morning conflict or negativity. That might mean not watching that pundit's political rant on television while you get dressed, or not engaging in a Twitter argument at 7 a.m., or even holding off on any difficult conversations in your household until everyone's fully awake and ready. Morning is like the launch pad for your day. Keep it as smooth as you can so you take off without a lot of turbulence. Let's address a potential objection. I'm not a morning person. Mornings are always going to be rough for me. It's true. Some of us naturally feel more alert later in the day, but that's all the more reason to create a gentle, supportive morning routine if you know mornings aren't your sharpest time. You especially don't want to make them harder by adding unnecessary stress. In fact, a calming routine could help ease you into wakefulness more pleasantly. Another note: consistency helps. Our bodies and minds respond well to routine. If you can wake up around the same time each day and follow a similar pattern, your body starts to know what to expect. Over time, this can actually make waking up easier because your internal clock gets the hang of it. Now imagine your own life. What could a better morning do for you? Maybe it means arriving at work not already frazzled, so you perform better. Or handling your kids' morning chaos with a bit more patience because you centered yourself first. Or just feeling happier during the day because you had a peaceful hour to yourself in the morning sun. There's a saying, win the morning, win the day. It might not be universally true, but there's wisdom in it. When you start strong, or at least calm and prepared, you stack the odds in your favor for everything that comes after. So give it a try. Tomorrow morning, don't let the world control the start of your day. Take the reins. It might mean waking up 15 minutes earlier to carve out that calm time, but it's worth it. Consider it an investment in a smoother, more successful day. Over time, those days add up to a smoother, more successful life. And if you occasionally slip into Marcus mode and have a frantic morning, no worries, just reset the next day. Even Marcus Aurelius himself wrote about struggling to get out of bed on cold mornings. The point is to strive and gradually improve. So, how will you start your next morning differently? Think about it, and maybe even make a small plan tonight. Your future self, yawning at dawn, will be grateful you did. 8. What you visualize, you build. Have you ever noticed that when you're really thinking about something a lot, it seems to start popping up everywhere in your life? Say you decide you want a certain model of car. Suddenly, it feels like every other car on the road is that exact model. Or you learn a new word, and then you hear it multiple times in the next week, as if everyone conspired to use it around you. It's weird, almost like the universe is sending you signals or that thing is somehow multiplying. What's actually happening is your brain is tuning in. There's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, RAS, that acts like a filter for what we notice. When something is important to us, like that car we want, or the subject of our thoughts, the RAS makes us more aware of related information. So the car was always on the road. You just didn't notice it before. Now you do, because it matters to you. This is the power of visualization and focus. When you visualize something clearly, you're basically telling your brain, this is important. Find opportunities and resources related to this. Your brain, being the good servant it is, starts to point those things out to you. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it succinctly, what you feed your mind becomes your reality. If you constantly feed your mind thoughts of doom and failure, you'll notice every potential pitfall and reinforce the belief that failure is inevitable. But if you feed your mind images of success and overcoming challenges, you'll start seeing paths to get there and reasons to keep pushing. Now, visualization isn't magic. It's not like you just daydream about a yacht and voila, one appears in your driveway. What it does is prime your mind to be ready for opportunities and to motivate you to take actions toward what you want. There's a popular quote floating around, The brain doesn't differentiate between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined. This is a bit of an oversimplification, but the core idea holds. Vividly imagining something can produce real effects on your mindset and even your abilities. Athletes use this all the time. A basketball player might spend time visualizing free throws going in, over and over. It's not as effective as physical practice, but it does improve performance because in the player's mind, they've practiced success multiple times. A contemporary expert named Roxy Nafusi, who writes about manifesting and self-development, explains that visualization is like a mental rehearsal for success. When you imagine your goals in detail, you train your brain to recognize the steps and opportunities to achieve them. It's like creating a mental roadmap. The clearer the map, the easier it is to follow in real life. So, how can you harness visualization to stay calm and achieve success? Let's break it down. Be specific in your visions. It's not enough to have a vague goal like, I want to be successful, or I want to be happy. Those are great outcomes, but not clear images. Try to paint a mental picture that's detailed. For example, if your goal is to land a certain job, visualize the entire scenario. See yourself walking into the office, shaking hands with your new boss, sitting at your desk, working on projects you enjoy. Imagine what the office looks like, how you feel working there, what kind of conversations you have with colleagues. If your goal is better health, visualize yourself doing healthy activities, finishing a good workout and feeling strong, or enjoying cooking and eating a nutritious meal, or maybe crossing a finish line of a 5K run with a big smile. The idea is to engage your senses and emotions in the vision. The more real it feels in your mind, the more your subconscious believes it's possible and starts aligning your actions toward it. Imagine the process, not just the outcome. A common mistake is to only visualize the happy ending. It's fun to daydream about holding a trophy or receiving applause or lying on a beach in financial freedom, but also spend time visualizing yourself doing the work to get there. If you want to write a novel, imagine yourself writing regularly and feeling creative and committed during those writing sessions. If you want to run a successful business, visualize yourself planning, making sales calls confidently, solving problems, leading a team. This does two things. 1. It prepares you mentally for the actual journey, so you're not only fixated on the end. 2. It helps you internalize the behaviors and habits needed to succeed. In your mind, you are already that person who does those things, so it's easier to become them in reality. Use physical reminders. Our environment can either remind us of our aspirations or distract us from them. A trick many people use is to keep visual cues around. Athletes might put up pictures of champions or inspiring quotes on their walls. You can do something similar with whatever your goal is. Want to travel the world? Maybe put a map or photos of your dream destinations on your wall. Aiming to get a degree? Pin up something related to the field you're passionate about. Working on staying calm and positive? Maybe a sticky note on your mirror with a mantra like, I am calm and in control, or a small object that symbolizes peace to you. These things may seem trivial, but when you see them regularly, they nudge your subconscious. They keep your goals in the forefront of your mind. Plus, in moments of doubt or stress, they can recenter you on why you're doing what you're doing. Turn visualization into action. After you've spent time visualizing, ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today to move closer to this vision? Visualization should fuel action, not replace it. If you keep picturing yourself fit and strong, it will likely get you in the mood to actually exercise, or at least make a healthier choice during the day. If you visualize performing well in an upcoming presentation, you'll feel more inclined to practice your speech. It creates a sort of positive pressure. You've seen the best version of yourself, so now you want to act like that person. Stay calm by visualizing challenges too. This might sound counterintuitive, But part of using visualization to stay calm is to also mentally rehearse challenges and you overcoming them. For instance, if you're worried about a difficult conversation, you can visualize it going smoothly. Yes, but also visualize that maybe the other person reacts not so great, and then see yourself responding calmly and effectively. If you only imagine perfect outcomes, you might panic when something goes off script. But if you've also visualized, okay, if X obstacle comes up, I'll handle it like this, you'll feel more prepared and less thrown off in real life. It's like a mental vaccine. You give yourself a tiny dose of the difficulty and see yourself beat it, so you're more immune to stress when the real thing happens. Make it a habit. Visualization can be done anytime, but many find it useful in the morning, to set a positive tone as we discussed earlier, or at night before sleeping, to let those images marinate in your subconscious. Even a few minutes can be effective. Some people do it in the shower, or while commuting, or during a break. The consistency matters more than the length. It's like training a muscle in your mind. The more regularly you do it, the stronger your focus and optimism get. A word of caution. Sometimes when we first start visualizing a big goal, a part of us might feel, who am I kidding? That's not really going to happen. That's okay. It's normal to feel a gap between where you are and where you want to be. Don't let that discourage you. Think of visualization as an exercise in hope and strategy, not fantasy. You're not pretending everything will be easy. You're convincing yourself that even if it's hard, you can get there. Also, be flexible. As life goes on, your vision of success might evolve. You might discover new paths or decide a certain goal isn't what you want anymore. Visualization isn't about locking yourself rigidly to one dream. It's about keeping your mind oriented towards something positive that you're working toward and being adaptable along the way. One more benefit of visualization: it can actually bring a sense of calm in the present. When you're stressed, taking a moment to close your eyes and picture a scene that represents success or peace for you can lower anxiety. It's like giving your brain a little vacation to a place where things are okay, which can break the cycle of worry and help you return to the task at hand with a clearer head. So, if you haven't already, give this a try. Pick a goal or even just the rest of your day and spend a few minutes imagining it in the best form. See it, hear it, feel it as much as you can. Then open your eyes and carry that energy with you. You might be surprised at how your actions and outlook begin to shift in subtle but powerful ways. Remember, everything is created twice. First in the mind, then in reality. The house you live in, the device you're reading this on, the career you have, all of it was once just an idea or a vision in someone's head. Your success and calmness are no different. Visualize it, then go build it. 9. Breathe and take back control. When things get heated, an argument, a crisis, a high-pressure moment, what's the first thing that tends to happen to us physically? Our breathing changes. It might speed up, or become shallow, or sometimes we even hold our breath without realizing. This is because our bodies are wired to respond to stress with the good old fight-or-flight response. Heart rate goes up, adrenaline dumps into the bloodstream, and breathing becomes rapid to supply oxygen to our muscles in case we need to run or fight. It's great if you're facing a bear in the woods, but not so great if you're facing, say, a rude colleague or a frustrating email. In those modern scenarios, this automatic response can actually hijack our rational mind. Imagine you're in a tense conversation with someone who's pushing your buttons. They may be raising their voice or throwing accusations. You feel your chest tightening, your face getting hot, your fists clenching. Your mind screams, fight back, defend yourself. And before you know it, you're either shouting or maybe you say something cutting that you later regret. In that moment, who was in control, you or your anger, fear? It's likely the emotion took the driver's seat and you just went along for the ride. The Stoics, masters of self-control, recognize that keeping one's calm is a kind of superpower, because the person who stays calm can think clearly, while the one who loses their temper is controlled by the situation and often manipulated by others who provoke them. There's a metaphor that life is like a poker game. You can't control the cards you're dealt, just like you often can't control what people do or say to you, but you can control how you play them. And importantly, a good poker player never reveals their hand through their emotions. If you have a bad hand but you show panic on your face, the other players will exploit that. If you have a great hand but you get overexcited, they might fold. So the best players maintain a steady, calm demeanor, no matter what cards they hold. Similarly, in life, the person who can keep their cool and choose their response, rather than just react, holds tremendous power. If someone insults you and you don't immediately fire an insult back, but instead respond with measured words or even silence, you often catch them off guard. You also retain the moral high ground and self-respect. If a sudden problem occurs and everyone else is freaking out, the one who takes a deep breath and starts thinking of solutions becomes the leader in that moment. Okay, so staying calm is crucial, but how to do it, especially when emotions are running high? One of the simplest and most effective tools is something we all carry with us: our breath. When you control your breathing, you send a signal to your brain. It's okay. We're not in an immediate life or death situation. We can relax a bit. Deep, slow breaths activate the parasympathetic nervous system, often called the rest and digest system, which counteracts the adrenaline rush. A particularly useful technique is the 4 to 7 -8 breathing method. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 7, exhale through your mouth, making a whoosh sound if you like, for a count of 8. You don't have to be super rigid with the timing, but the idea is the exhale's longer than the inhale, and there's a bit of a hold. This pattern causes a gentle slowing of your heart rate and a release of tension. Even doing this once can make a difference, but ideally do a few rounds, say 3 to 5 times. Next time you feel that surge of anger or panic and you're about to react, pause. Literally, pause. If possible, excuse yourself for a moment. Give me a second, or even take a short walk to the restroom. In that pause, breathe. If you can't leave, even just taking one slow breath before speaking can prevent an impulsive outburst. Another aspect of staying calm is about the story you tell yourself in a heated moment. When someone is acting aggressive or nasty, our immediate thought is often, "They're attacking me. How dare they?" We take it very personally. And sure, sometimes it is personal, but Stoic wisdom and modern psychology both suggest that often people's harsh behavior is more about them than about you. Maybe they're having a horrible day, or they're unhappy in their life, or they feel threatened or insecure. This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it can help you not get sucked into their storm. If someone yells at you and you think, "Wow, they must be under a lot of stress to act like that," you're more likely to feel compassion, or at least detachment, rather than anger. As the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. Recognizing this can sometimes diffuse your own anger. You realize their outburst is a reflection of their inner turmoil, not a reflection of your worth. Now, I'm not suggesting you become a doormat or tolerate abuse. Staying calm doesn't mean you don't stand up for yourself. It means you respond with strength and clarity, instead of with uncontrolled emotion. If something needs to be addressed, you can address it firmly and logically, rather than with insults or screaming. In fact, a calm but firm response is often much more powerful. Think of a parent calmly saying to a misbehaving child, "I'll talk to you when you're ready to speak respectfully," versus yelling back at the child. Or in a meeting, someone attacks your idea, staying composed and saying, "I hear your criticism, let's examine it point by point," comes off a lot more confident than defensively shouting, "You're wrong." Another practical tip: if a conflict or provocation happens, it can help to delay your response if possible. Write that angry email if you must, but don't send it yet. Wait a few hours or overnight. Often, you'll tone it down or realize a better way to respond after the initial emotion passes. If it's a face-to-face situation and you can't respond later, then use the power of questions. Instead of reacting, ask a question. For example, someone says, "Your project was a complete failure." You could flare up, or you could calmly ask, "What aspects do you feel failed? I'd like to understand your perspective." This does two things. It buys you time to cool down, and it might also take the wind out of their sails, forcing them to be more specific, and sometimes they'll exaggerate less when asked to explain. The ultimate point is, when you stay calm, you remain the master of yourself. When you lose your temper, you're handing over the keys of your mind to the situation or to the other person. They can then steer you into actions that might not serve you. Think of legendary figures known for their cool under fire, maybe a great diplomat, a wise coach, or an effective leader you admire. They likely have this trait. No matter how chaotic things get, they project a sense of steadiness. People gravitate to them in crisis because they trust them not to make things worse with rash behavior. You can be that person in your own sphere. And even on a personal level, staying calm is good for you. Your stress levels stay lower. You don't waste energy on rage or anxiety. And you make better decisions that you won't regret later. You also maintain better relationships because you're not saying hurtful things in anger that you can't take back. Let me address a common fear. Sometimes people think, if I don't react strongly, they'll think I'm weak. But calmness isn't weakness, actually. It often takes more strength to remain calm. Anyone can throw a tantrum. Not everyone can keep their cool. And responding thoughtfully can be far more devastating to an opponent or effective than an angry retort. For example, a calm, "I'm disappointed that you'd say that," can inflict more self-reflection on someone than a shouted, "You're an idiot," which just starts a shouting match. In negotiations or debates, the one who loses their cool usually loses. The calm negotiator finds the cracks and uses strategy, while the emotional one tips their hand and becomes irrational. So next time you feel that inner volcano about to erupt, remember, your breath is your power. Use it to quell the flames. Remember the poker face. You're not suppressing your feelings forever. You're just controlling them until you can deal with them in a healthy way. And recall that whoever stays calm wins, or at least doesn't lose. Maybe not win in the petty sense, but wins in maintaining integrity and clarity. You might not always manage to be zen in every tough situation. We're all human after all. But even improving a bit, catching yourself 1 time out of 3, then 1 out of 2, and so on, can have a huge impact on your life and success. Each time you succeed in staying calm, when you previously wouldn't have, give yourself credit. That's a victory worth celebrating. In the grand scheme, the ability to remain calm is like having a secret weapon. When others panic, you strategize. When others argue, you listen and respond, or choose not to respond. It puts you in a position of strength and stability. Real success often belongs to those who can navigate storms without capsizing, and calmness is the keel that keeps your ship upright. So, take a deep breath. You've got this. No matter what life throws at you, you can face it better with a calm mind. As the old saying goes, keep calm and carry on. It's not just a catchy phrase on a poster, it's solid advice for leading a successful, composed life. 10. Seek silence. Find answers. We live in a world that never stops talking. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, there's noise, literal noise, and figurative noise. Cars honking, music playing, TVs blaring, phones dinging, people talking, devices demanding our attention with every buzz and notification. It's like we're all in this giant, busy cafe 24/7 with 100 conversations happening at once and no one ever steps outside for quiet. Now, imagine silence for a second. For some people, that idea might feel blissful. Oh, I wish. But for others, it can actually feel a bit unsettling. Many of us are so used to constant input that true silence is almost foreign. If you've ever been somewhere really quiet, like deep in nature or in a soundproof room, you might have noticed your ears almost ringing from the absence of sound. Or you become hyper-aware of small noises like your own breathing or heartbeat. It can be uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. Why do we fill every moment with noise and distraction? Partly, it's just the world we've built, lots of technology and connectivity, but partly, it's intentional avoidance. Being in silence means being alone with our own thoughts. For some, that's scarier than any horror movie. In silence, the background chatter of our mind becomes audible. Worries, regrets, hopes, random memories. Things we might not want to face or might not know how to deal with. It's like we're afraid of our own inner voice, so we drown it out with external ones. However, here's the paradox. That inner voice, once we let number 10, seek silence, find answers. We live in a world that never stops making noise. From the minute you open your eyes, there's a flood of sound and information. Alarms beeping, phones buzzing with notifications, television or radio news, people talking, traffic honking, music playing. It's like standing in the middle of a crowded market all day long. There's chatter and clamor everywhere, outside and inside our heads. Now, imagine for a moment turning all that off. No news headlines, no group chats, no television in the background. Just silence. For many of us, true silence is rare. And to be honest, it can feel a bit uncomfortable if you're not used to it. In silence, you're suddenly alone with your own thoughts, and that can be intimidating. We might even avoid silence because it forces us to face our inner voice, the worries, the doubts, the big questions about our life that we push aside during our busy day. But here's the paradox. The very thing we avoid, that quiet confrontation with our thoughts, is often the key to the answers and peace of mind we're searching for. When we constantly drown our brains in noise and distractions, we give ourselves no space to process experiences or solve problems. Our minds become like a computer with too many tabs open, overloading but never resolving anything. Silence is not your enemy. Silence is a gateway. It's like an open door to a room where you can finally hear the faint whispers of your intuition and wisdom. If you never step into that room, you'll never know what insights are waiting there for you. Think of the movie Eat, Pray, Love. The protagonist, Elizabeth, feels lost in the chaos of her life and sets out on a journey, which includes spending time at an ashram in India. There, she's faced with something she's never truly experienced before: prolonged silence and meditation. At first, it's immensely difficult. Her mind rebels. She feels anxious and wants to run. But after sticking with it, she has a breakthrough. When the external noise finally stops, she begins to actually hear herself. In that deep silence, all the answers and realization she had been seeking start to surface. She discovers what she truly needs and wants, and finds a sense of peace that had eluded her in the noisy world. The Stoics understood this power of silence long ago. Seneca observed that people often complain more about the noise in their own heads than the noise around them. We torment ourselves with endless internal chatter, reliving old mistakes, imagining future problems, worrying about things we can't control. It creates a constant mental din. Seneca and other Stoics practiced taking time away from social hustle and bustle precisely to quiet that inner noise, to be alone with their thoughts and sort them out. They knew that the person who learns to find calm in silence can find calm in any situation. Modern science backs this up. A study at Duke University found that when people are in a quiet environment, the brain switches to a mode called the default mode network. In silence, your brain isn't idle. It's actively processing and organizing. It's like you've given your mind permission to tidy up the clutter that's accumulated. Imagine your thoughts are like a messy room. When you're frantically busy, it's as if you're tossing more and more stuff in the room and slamming the door shut. Silence is the time when you open that door, sort through the mess, and put things in order. Often when you do that, you find what you were looking for all along. Perhaps a solution to a dilemma or a creative idea, just like finding your keys once you clean up a messy room. Ever wonder why great ideas often come to people in the shower, or while taking a walk alone, or just before falling asleep? It's because those are moments when we're not bombarded by outside input. Our mind is finally quiet enough to connect some dots. In silence, your brain can say, "Hey, now that I have a moment, here's that insight you needed." So, how can we embrace silence in our daily lives to find more calm and clarity? Here are a few practical ideas. Build small periods of silence into your day. You don't have to retreat to a mountain cave or attend a 10-day silent meditation retreat, though that would be an experience. Start with something manageable, 15 to 30 minutes of quiet time a day. That means no television, no phone, no conversation, just you with yourself. Maybe in the morning before the rest of the world wakes up, or at night when things settle down. You could sit in a comfy chair, or on your porch, or in a park. At first, your mind might race with thoughts. That's normal. But as you practice, you'll notice those thoughts start to slow and organize. Consider this your daily mind cleanse. Take a silent walk or commute. If you normally listen to music or podcasts, try doing it in silence once in a while. Let's say you have a routine walk, or you're driving alone with the radio off, or even just riding the bus with headphones out. Initially, it might feel strange, but pay attention to what bubbles up in your mind. Without external noise, you might notice things around you more vividly: the scenery, the weather, the sounds of nature or city life. And your mind might wander in productive ways. Perhaps you'll think through a problem in a new light, or come up with a creative idea. Walking in silence is a form of meditation in motion. It's amazingly refreshing. Meditation or breathing practices, even a short meditation, 5 to 10 minutes, can introduce you to the richness of silence. You don't have to do anything fancy. Simply sit, close your eyes, and focus on your breathing. When thoughts distract you, gently bring your attention back to the breath. This trains your brain to sit with silence without immediately filling it with mental chatter. Apps and online videos can guide you if needed, but the goal is to eventually not need guidance and just enjoy the quiet of your own mind. Journal your thoughts after quiet time. Keep a notebook handy during your silent moments. Writing down what comes to mind can be incredibly clarifying. Maybe during your quiet time you remembered something important, or realized you feel a certain way about an issue, or had a new idea. Jot it down. This does two things. It helps you articulate and solidify those insights, and it proves the point that, wow, when I give myself space to think, look at all this useful stuff that surfaces. Over time, you might notice patterns in what you write. Maybe a particular worry keeps coming up, signaling it needs addressing, or a certain passion repeatedly emerges, telling you to pursue it. Disconnect to reconnect with yourself. Challenge yourself to occasionally do activities without external noise. For example, eat a meal alone in silence. No television, no phone, not even a book. Just taste your food and listen to your thoughts, or try doing a household task like folding laundry or washing dishes without background music or shows. These little pockets of quiet can become mini retreat moments for your mind. At first you might feel, ugh, I'm bored. But push through that. On the other side of boredom is often creativity or insight. Boredom basically means your brain is looking for stimulation. If you don't feed it external junk, it'll start entertaining itself, often in interesting and original ways. Now, a warning. When you start to practice silence, you may initially be confronted with some anxious or uncomfortable thoughts. That's okay. Think of it like starting a detox. Sometimes you feel a bit worse before you feel better as the toxins clear out. If you find yourself getting anxious in silence, start with shorter periods and maybe do some deep breathing to steady yourself. Remind yourself that nothing is actually happening to you in that moment. Any discomfort is just those long suppressed thoughts finally getting some airtime. Greet them like an old friend you've been too busy to visit. Over time, those thoughts lose their scary edge and just become part of the background, and you can gently let them go. There's a powerful question to ask. If I can't spend time with my own thoughts, who will? In other words, if even you can't bear to be alone with yourself, that's a sign that you need to cultivate that relationship. You are essentially the only permanent companion you have in life. Your mind goes with you everywhere, so it's worth turning it into a friendly, supportive companion rather than one you dread facing. And the only way to do that is by listening to it regularly, with compassion and without judgment, in silence. Ultimately, silence is a tool, a very underused one in our modern lives. Just as you need sleep each night to rest your body, you need moments of silence to rest and reset your mind. In that reset, you find perspective. Things that seemed enormous and overwhelming might shrink down to size. You might realize that some problems you've been obsessing over aren't as catastrophic as you thought, or notice a solution was hiding in plain sight, but you were too loud in your head to see it. When you make a habit of seeking out a bit of silence, you'll likely find that you carry more calm into the rest of your day. It's like you've tapped into an internal well of stillness, and you can drink from it whenever life starts to dry out your peace. Over time, you become less reactive because you've learned to pause and reflect rather than jumping immediately into action or stress. So don't be afraid of silence. Embrace it. Start with just a few minutes, and gradually increase if you can. Think of it as meeting with a wise mentor who lives inside you. If you sit with them quietly, they just might share some wisdom with you. In the quiet, you may come face to face with yourself and discover that within you, there is a calmer, wiser person who was just waiting for a chance to speak. All you had to do was listen. 11. Use your hands. Calm your mind. Consider this scenario. You're sitting at your desk after a crazy day. Emails are piling up, your phone is pinging, your thoughts are racing about everything you still need to do. You feel stuck and overwhelmed, almost paralyzed by stress. Now, imagine pushing your chair back, getting up, and doing something completely different for a little while. Doodling on a notepad, organizing the clutter on your desk, or even fixing that squeaky cabinet door in your office. It might sound odd to address a mental problem with a physical action, but sometimes the best way to calm a busy mind is to get your hands busy instead. Let me tell you about a man from history who intuitively understood this. He was one of the greatest geniuses of all time, Leonardo da Vinci. We often think of da Vinci's brilliance in terms of his inventions and art, but what people sometimes overlook is how he worked through his ideas. Leonardo had an insatiably curious, and therefore often restless, mind. He questioned everything in the world around him. But whenever his thoughts became too much, or he hit a wall trying to figure something out, he didn't just sit there and fret. He used his hands. He sketched out his ideas, pages and pages of drawings of flying machines, anatomical studies, engineering designs. If an idea was tangled up in his head, drawing or building helped untangle it. When words or thoughts failed, the act of doing gave his mind a different way to process. There's a famous anecdote that in between painting or brainstorming, Leonardo would do things like sculpt clay or even play music. These weren't just hobbies, They were ways he kept his creative energy flowing. By engaging his hands, he allowed his mind to work out problems in the background. In many of his notes, you see that a breakthrough idea is scribbled in the margins of a sketch, as if the very act of sketching opened the door for the insight to walk through. The principle at work here is that physical action can be a path to mental calm and clarity. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote something to the effect of, "Well-doing is the sure path to well-being." In plainer terms, taking constructive action, even a small one, can soothe a troubled mind. Sometimes when you're anxious or overwhelmed, the worst thing to do is sit there stewing in those thoughts. Your mind can become like a hamster on a wheel, running faster and faster but not getting anywhere. Doing something with your hands is like taking the hamster off the wheel and onto a little walk. It breaks the cycle. Think about times when you've had a eureka moment, or just felt unexpectedly calm. Maybe while cooking, or gardening, or crafting, or even during a shower while washing your hair. When your body is engaged in a simple, repetitive task, your mind often finds a way to relax and wander in a more gentle way. In those moments, solutions to problems can bubble up naturally. Now, let's apply this knowingly. When you feel stress building to a tipping point, take a break and use your hands. Step away from the computer or whatever is stressing you. Find a small physical task. It could be as simple as tidying up your workspace for 10 minutes, doing some stretches, or scribbling in a notebook. It doesn't have to be productive in the conventional sense. Even doodling or kneading a ball of clay can work. The goal is to give your mind a rest from overthinking and let your body take over for a bit. As you do this, focus on the task. Feel the sensations, the pen on paper, the warm soapy water if you're washing dishes, the texture of soil if you're gardening. This draws your attention out of your swirling thoughts and into the present, physical moment. You might be surprised how effective this is. Suppose you're stuck on a problem, like you can't figure out how to approach a project or resolve a conflict. After 15 minutes of, say, reorganizing your bookshelf or painting the fence, you suddenly have a fresh idea or at least feel less panicky about it. That's because while your hands were busy, your subconscious mind was chewing on the issue in the background without the pressure that you consciously put on it. Here are a few practical ways to incorporate this hands-on, calming strategy into your life. Daily hands-on time. Aim to spend at least 10 to 15 minutes each day on a manual activity that you enjoy or find soothing. It could be drawing, journaling, writing by hand, not typing, cooking, knitting, working on a puzzle, or even doing a bit of home repair or DIY craft. Think of it as mental maintenance. Just like you charge your phone or wind down for bed, this is a little ritual to keep your mind clear. It's amazing how a daily practice of something like journaling or sketching can act like a release valve for stress. Some people like to do this at the end of the workday as a transition into a calmer evening. Single task and unplug. When you're doing your chosen activity, remove distractions. Turn off the television, put your phone on silent, and if you listen to music, choose something without lyrics so it doesn't pull your thoughts away. The point is to let your mind dip into a quieter mode, not to keep feeding it new information. Multitasking is the enemy of a calm mind. This hands-on time is your chance to monotask and give your brain a break from juggling everything at once. Emergency reset button. Keep a simple physical task in your back pocket as an emergency stress reset. For example, if I start feeling overwhelmed while working, I know I can stand up and spend 5 minutes just cleaning my immediate area or watering my desk plant. That small act often breaks the stress spiral. Some offices have things like stress balls or coloring books for this purpose. It's not just child's play. It actually helps refocus and calm adults too. Maybe for you, it's stepping outside and doing a quick stretch routine, or washing a few dishes in the sink. Find something that doesn't require a lot of preparation so you can do it whenever you need to reset your mood. Observe the aftermath. After you've spent a little time using your hands, check in with yourself. How do you feel now compared to before? Often you'll notice you're a bit lighter, more centered. Your problem might not be completely solved. The work email that annoyed you is still there. The family issue still needs discussion, but you're in a better headspace to tackle it. It's like when you untangle a knot. Yanking and pulling in frustration only tightens it, but setting it down, taking a breath, and patiently working it apart strand by strand does the trick. Giving yourself that short break is akin to taking a breath in the middle of a knotty situation. In essence, action can tame anxiety. When you feel powerless, doing something, even something small and physical, reminds you that you do have agency. It shifts you from a passive state, "I'm trapped in stress," to an active one, "I'm doing something constructive," no matter how minor. That shift is incredibly important for your mindset. It builds confidence that you can handle things, piece by piece. Also, using your hands often yields a tangible result. A drawing, a clean space, a repaired object. There's a simple but real satisfaction in that. It can restore a sense of accomplishment and control that mental work sometimes doesn't give immediately. For example, you might toil on a project for weeks without clear progress and feel discouraged, but spending an hour assembling a shelf gives you a finished product you can see and use. That can boost your morale and translate back into more patience and motivation for the longer-term mental projects. Think about children. They naturally use their hands all the time, playing with blocks, finger painting, building blanket forts. These activities aren't just child's play. They help kids process the world and their emotions. As adults, we often dismiss these kinds of activities as a waste of time because they're not directly related to our goals. But ironically, reintroducing a bit of that playful, hands-on time can make us more effective in achieving our goals by keeping us balanced and preventing burnout or mental gridlock. So, the next time you feel your mind is running in circles or you're tight with anxiety, press that reset button. Do something with your hands. It could be anything from scribbling in a notebook to baking cookies. Don't overthink it. In fact, that's the point. To stop overthinking for a little while. Immerse yourself in the simple task and let your brain have a breather. You might just find that when you return to your thinking work, you do so with a clearer mind, a calmer heart, and perhaps even a new perspective. Sometimes, as the saying goes, when you don't know what to do something. Action can pave the way when thought is stuck. And in the quiet focus of using your hands, you often discover the steady, creative, resilient part of yourself that can handle whatever life is throwing at you. Keeping calm isn't about never experiencing stress or always being relaxed. It's about understanding that within you, you have the tools to navigate stress and not let it derail you. Each of the principles we explored, from realizing the power of calm as a weapon, letting go of futile control, practicing gratitude, training your thoughts, directing your attention, resting your mind, starting your day with intention, visualizing success, breathing through challenges, seeking silence, and using your hands is a way to build your calm muscle. Success, in whatever way you define it, is not a straight line. Life will throw curveballs, delays, and surprises. The one thing you can always control is how you respond. By staying calm, you respond from a place of strength and clarity instead of panic or anger. You make better decisions because you're not blinded by emotion. You build stronger relationships because you communicate and act with thoughtfulness. You remain persistent because temporary setbacks don't rattle you as much. Every day, you have the opportunity to practice this. Maybe something as small as a long line at the grocery store or a disagreement with a friend. These are chances to choose calm, to breathe, to apply gratitude or perspective, to maybe even chuckle at the absurdity of something instead of fume. Over time, these little choices add up. You'll notice you handle bigger challenges with more poise. Others might even comment on how composed you remain during a crisis when everyone else was freaking out. Keeping calm is not just about inner peace, though that's wonderful. It's also a practical success strategy. When you're calm, you can think 2 steps ahead instead of being stuck in a knee-jerk reaction. Opportunities become visible because you're not consumed by stress. As the proverb goes, smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. By learning to find your calm center in the middle of life's storms, you become a skillful sailor of your own life. So, as you move forward, remember that calmness is a choice, one that you can get better at with practice. It doesn't mean you'll never get upset or worried, but it means you'll know how to anchor yourself when those feelings swell. You have your breath, your mindset techniques, your moments of silence, your hands-on resets, a whole toolkit to bring you back to equilibrium. Make calm your competitive edge. Let it be the quiet strength behind everything you do. When others rush, you'll move with purpose. When others panic, you'll remain steady. It's often the calm and steady who see things through to success, while the frantic burn out or falter. Above all, staying calm allows you to enjoy the journey more. Success isn't just about the destination. It's also about how you get there. By cultivating calm, you'll navigate your path with a clear mind and a confident heart. And that makes the inevitable ups and downs of life so much easier to handle. So take a deep breath, keep your head clear, and carry on. Your calm will lead you to the success you seek and make you a happier, healthier person along the way. You've got this.